Christmas time is here. Happiness and cheer.
Okay, so it's that Christmas episode of Shakespeare Reviews. If you couldn't
I'm
tell,
wearing a jumper!
you must be listening to the podcast because, no, we are actually all decked out in holly and Christmas cheer right now. Yes, Shakespeare looks about the least Shakespeare I've ever seen him before, ever.
Or weirdly, the most Shakespeare I've ever been. Because I'm just letting my internal self throw up all over my outer self.
Now, yes, he is okay. Tell us about what you're donning here today.
All right, my gay apparel. Obviously, I am wearing a Christmas jumper, and I don't actually have any of the ugly Christmas jumpers that people like to do. Also, by the way, don't make fun of the jumpers. People love them, but it's just a nice pattern. Some snowflakes. And I have, you can't actually see it, but I have my most festive shirt underneath, the red with the white trim. And then I'm wearing my Santa hat.
Nice. Well, okay, so that's what he's donning.
And I grew a beard!
He's donning
Just for
his
this
beard
show.
and outfit. Yes.
I grew a beard. It's obviously very real.
I'm blitzening. Just a regular sweater and just a kind of a sweater shirt, and then I've got my Santa hat. Now the Santa hat for me, this is actually traditional. This is a traditional Santa hat because I have worn this for I don't know, probably 15 years.
All right,
going
very good.
every time I visit my parents for Christmas.
All right.
This is what I'll put this on when I get in my car and I drive there. So I'm driving
Andrew,
for 3 hours wearing this hat.
That's fantastic. I appreciate that. Well done. But for the entire ensemble, you look like a dude in a Hallmark Christmas movie who's making, the minimum effort. But because it's a Hallmark movie, a lot of credit is given to him.
And I was going for Christmas Vacation Cousin. Oh, man.
No, because then you need to have flaps on and then and wearing a really terrible
No, not the
leisure
crazy
suit.
cousin, the not so crazy cousin, the one in between where the Griswolds feel like okay, he's a little too square for me. That's what I was going for.
Oh, so cut out of the movie.
Yes. Because that's what we do. We improve the movie. That's how we look at movies. You see, we say what can we do better.
All right, so you're a fictitious Griswold cousin.
Yes,
All right, I
yes,
like this.
yes,
I like
yes.
this a lot.
Yes, Andy Griswold. That's who I am.
The thing is, that is a name that you could see in those films. Andy Griswold.
Yes, see, that's what I was going for.
And he's an accountant. Andy Griswold.
In mind.
Andy Griswold is an accountant.
Yes.
Yes, he is.
I'm Andy Griswold.
Oh my gosh, Andrew, we have to abandon the entire premise of today's episode and just write fan fiction concerning Andy Griswold. This is what we're doing now.
So it's like Animaniacs when the little kid comes out and just says, "Okay, so Randy Griswold went and visited his family for Christmas, and what he did, and just go like that."
All right,
Okay.
So there's Andy Griswold, and he's visiting his family for Christmas, but another relative pulled up in a really old RV, and then there was a Christmas tree that exploded out the house, and then Uncle Lewis set the Christmas tree on fire. Okay, bye.
Right, exactly. Good old Randy Beeman. I like it.
Oh my gosh,
Now-
I love this so much.
Now, what happened? Because we wanted to do a Christmas episode, and
Yes.
here's the problem for Shakespeare Reviews. Huge problem. Christmas was very different when it came to Shakespeare's time, and let's just be honest. There's another famous British writer who kind of has a monopoly on Christmas. Damn him. That's what I should have done. I should have dressed up like Charles Dickens, and we could have just been the duo thing.
Oh my god! Do you want to just go get changed right now? We can do this.
I don't know if I have any Charles Dickens wear.
Keep it rolling, and we're just gonna
I can be the modern Charles Dickens, Yes, I'm Charles Dickens. I'm American Charles Dickens, not the British version, because the American version, that's what made Christmas really monopolistic.
Oh, all right. So you're doing the Andy Williams version then?
I like it.
Another Andy.
Another Andy.
I love
It's
it.
all about the Andys. Oh my God, that's my next podcast show right there, all about the Andes.
All about the Andes. I love it.
like
I
it.
want to be on it. I want to be on your first episode. And we could talk about
That'll
famous Andes through history.
But one thing that now Will, when we first talked about doing a Christmas episode, Will came up with this idea that I both love him and despise him for. He said,
You're welcome.
There are all of these great Hallmark films that are based on Shakespeare plays.
Incredibly loosely.
Incredibly loosely. I know we've never seen an incredibly loose adaptation before, but we thought we'd give it a shot. So
I love it.
We picked two. So go ahead. Introduce the first one you brought up, you bastard.
Romeo and Juliet.
Because what did Romeo and Juliet need? It needed a horse named Rodeo.
Yes! Yes! Oh my gosh, this was so great! Oh, does it get better than Romeo and Juliet? I defy you
I hope
to
it
say
does.
otherwise. I mean, audience, if you don't love this, A, you're wrong, but B, you probably have working brain cells, and that's fine too. At the risk of quoting myself, it's not great.
But to be fair, it's not horrible. It's not
No.
horrible. I mean, it's the acting is at least okay, and I will give them originality for bringing in a Romeo and Juliet story where they make one of the main characters an animal. I mean,
I know!
I'll give them credit there. Rodeo is a horse that it's essentially about a mother-daughter who the mother goes back to her father's ranch after he passes away to settle the estate. And there's a horse at the ranch named Rodeo, and the daughter falls in love with the horse. She's unhappy moving from New York because she's a city girl, but she loves the horse and makes friends there and does find a love interest, not named Romeo, but does find a love interest. And it has the standard Hallmark Channel type of happy ending type thing. But I don't know. I mean, honestly, it wasn't too bad. The only name you'd probably recognize from it is Krista Allen, who has been in small parts in some movies like Liar Liar and things like that. I'll give her some props because she's from Austin, so I'll say yes. Not a decent actress, pretty good, but it was better than I was expecting. That's how I'm going to put this.
Okay.
What did you think?
This was one of those Hallmark Christmas movies where Christmas is very much an afterthought in it.
Yeah. It was filmed in Louisiana, by the way. Little trivia.
Not even in Texas!
It was filmed in Louisiana, and it has. That's why there's like no snow to speak of because. So yeah.
Oh my god, that makes this even better. Sometimes I pay such very close attention to the credits and where things are, and then this is not one of them.
Yeah.
And I am one of my favorite things to do with Off-Screen Wife is to watch Hallmark Christmas movies. Mm-hmm. Guys, they're fun junk food, and it's really good. And you have a hot cocoa, and you sit down and you watch it, and the next thing you know, it's over, and you're on to the next one, which often feels exactly the same. And sometimes they're amazingly good, and
Every once in a while, yeah.
or at the very least, the premises are wackadoo. This falls into the premise is wackadoo, and they just kind of ham-handedly squeeze Christmas in, and it's just like, oh yeah, and it's Christmas. Most of the Hallmark Christmas movies, it's all about Christmas, like Christmas every 9 words.
Yes.
There is a town that is weirdly obsessed with Christmas. Christmas is the greatest tradition of the world. Christmas is like the time where you tell the truth, or whatever. I don't know. Like
Or
that.
somebody is totally against Christmas, kind of like in a Scrooge way, and then all their friends and their whole situation is about turning them around and making them embrace and love Christmas.
Indeed.
That's a lot of those.
The entire town has to get together and do a thing,
Yes.
or it's just a couple of people,
And occasionally
whatever.
you get the kind of Christmas miracle type thing. People just huddle together in a tough situation or an interesting situation over Christmas, and then some crazy happenstance, it all works out, and everybody feels better about it, and warm fuzzies everywhere.
Yeah. This one doesn't really do that.
No,
This one,
it doesn't.
Christmas is a thing. Christmas is a time on the calendar that is over there happening. The important relationship is betwixt Juliet and Rodeo. And oh my God, I'm here for it because it's wackadoo bonkers. This is not a good movie. This is a fantastic Hallmark movie. This is an okay Hallmark Christmas movie, but it is a fantastic Hallmark movie because you're like, what? Did not see that coming. This is weird. Oh my God. Get the popcorn. I mean, or get the peanut brittle. Wait, no, not peanut brittle. Get the peppermint bark. Do it. Oh my God. It's wackadoo and I am here for this. It's so weird and I love it. It's not good. It is not good. It is, in fact, the opposite of good. It is whatever good is not. However, you have to keep watching it. Like, I cannot turn away. This movie needs me.
Well,
And that's the spirit of Christmas right there.
There you go. There you go.
This movie is the Charlie Brown Christmas tree of movies. It needs me.
Now, this movie came out in 2015.
Yes.
Now, this is a good time for Hallmark style movies because for those of you who have been following Hallmark movies, they kind of got their start around 20 years ago and gradually started doing themed seasonal movies for Christmas. They've since, about 5 years ago, started doing different seasons. Like they have the autumn movies, the Christmas movies. They spread them out like that. But it was around...
There are about 83 new original Hallmark movies every year.
And this year, they had 40 new Christmas films.
Yeah,
40.
you know why? You know why? A, it is the highest season of watching.
Yes.
But B, they rushed more into production and post-production than they were planning because of the apocalypse.
Yes. And it was smart because people are home, people want to have new content, and they have a ton of them, and the advertisers are going to be jumping in. They're raking it in this year, so good for them.
And also because of time no longer having meaning this year. I mean, I'm not entirely convinced that we are recording this in December. It might still be March.
It could. I
don't know.
I thought this was 3rd December. We're in 3rd December right now.
We're in 3rd December.
I thought so because some months keep repeating. It seems like, and next thing you know, we've gone through a 5th August, which was really strange.
Yeah, that was weird.
But we're only in 3rd December now. We'll see if we go through a 4th. I'm not sure yet. We'll see.
I kind of hope so because I like December. My birthday's in there, and that's good.
It's like a Counting Crows song, in the 3rd December.
All right, yeah, I can get with that. I can swing with this.
Yeah.
So, because of the Corona apocalypse and time going all a bit Jeremy Bearimy this year, and we're just hanging out in the dot of the eye forever, Hallmark decided back in April to stop playing Christmas movies every weekend, and just basically because there's such a feel-good concept for the most part that. Hey, let's bring the spirit of Christmas year round. So you want to bring the spirit of Christmas year round. We have had now the spirit of Christmas, courtesy Hallmark Channel, for 9 freaking months. And that's amazing.
Yes.
Now, there have been, as Andrew said, 40 new Hallmark Christmas movies this year. That doubles every previous year. It's ridiculous. Some of them were rushed into post-production so they could happen earlier in the year. Some of them were rushed into production and actually setting the template for how to safely film a production in the time of COVID, with mask protocols, with social distancing. So a lot of them have it. And we're not talking about any of those in here, other than a couple of things. You can actually see in some of the more recent ones, extras in the background wearing masks, usually like just only in profile, or you see the loops around their ears. No one face on wearing a mask because I think they're studiously avoiding it because it's kind of like, that's the real world, let's not go there.
Yeah.
But they are actually setting the template for TV studios, for Hollywood, for everyone to follow because their sets have been safe. They have been almost a haven away from the rest of the world. A wonderful one that happened towards the beginning of the actual Christmas season, One Royal Holiday, was the very first one to go back into production. And they quarantined the entire cast for 2 weeks before filming began, and then quarantined the cast and the crew together for the duration. Everyone stayed in the same hotel. No one was going anywhere. You're not dealing with the outside world. We're all here. It's an insulated environment, and it worked. They did the same thing with an Alicia Witt piece called Christmas Tree Lane. Same thing. Oh, and those were the first two to go into production during the COVID apocalypse here, and so far they've worked, and the two of the better ones as well. Now this one, back in 2015, as Andrew said, as Hallmark is beginning the renaissance of their movies, and this was a crazy swing. And in many ways, I think it worked because it gets people going, oh, yeah, that's a weird one. Let's watch it.
Yeah, I think so. It's something different, which is always good, like we've said before. I think around 2010 is when the shift started, where if for those... I've seen the Hallmark movies for a while now and then, and it was around 2010 where all of a sudden they started to get better, to up their game and production value. You could tell a difference. It didn't seem like more of an indie film. It seemed like there was something there. And for each year after year, they've consistently been better. And around 2015, I think you're right. I think they kind of hit their renaissance. And that's when they really, the production values were just huge, and they really took it very seriously. The quality's good. It's worth seeing. I mean, if you like that kind of thing, if you need some fluff in your life, hey, get a big spoonful of marshmallow fluff and put it in your mouth. It's not good for you, but you want it anyway. You need some comfort fluff, so go for it.
So speaking of comfort fluff, let's talk about Check In to Christmas.
Oh, dear
the
God.
other movie I made him watch.
He did make me watch this. I had no choice.
This one also follows a Romeo and Juliet plot.
A little more accurately, believe it or not.
Oh, with actual parallels. As you know, one of my favorite things is when modern characters share something in common with their Shakespearean counterparts. So in this case, the family names begin with the same letter as Capulets and Montagues. Her family name begins with C, his family name begins with M. They are feuding families for a stupid reason. It's beautiful. But in this case, instead of, they'll get together and form the union that will make it all okay after they die, they get together to form an alliance against an evil corporation. And I am here for it.
Yep. Yes.
And it's a town that has an unhealthy obsession with Christmas, by the way.
A popular theme in these films is, the small town mentality, and that following that approach, and they do a good job here. Girl comes back from the big city to see her family, and ends up helping save the town and finding love at the same time. So, and
ironically, helping to save Christmas.
That too. It's a good feel-good film. The acting is very competent. You'll recognize a few people in there, so that's good. You get Al from Home Improvement is in there. And
he's a delight in this. He's a delight.
He's always fun. He does a good job.
You just hit the nail on the head. Competent acting.
Yes.
In most of these, is the acting phenomenal?
No.
Is it
not bad?
It's not bad. It's at least as good as anything that you would find on your normal channel surfing, if you're still doing that, of like CSI or whatever the sitcom of the week is on any of the major networks. It's competent. It's like, yes, these people are good enough to have jobs.
Yeah. I mean, 10
usually.
years ago,
sometimes, and occasionally, sometimes you're like, how do they cast that person?
Right.
Who do they know? But it also gives me hope. Being an actor, I'm bald, I'm short, I'm weird looking. It gives me hope not to be a romantic lead in any of these, but to be the best friend or the dad. someone's dad or best friend, or even an evil boss, possibly a nice boss.
Do they film any of those Hallmark films in your area?
Evil bosses or nice boss? Oh, in my area.
Yeah.
Not specifically. Normally they're filmed in Canada.
Yeah.
Vancouver is incredibly popular. Toronto is
occasionally
alright.
You'll get some in like Utah or something like
Connecticut. Connecticut was huge for this year's crop being filmed. New York State, rarely. It's very rare. Partly just because in terms of like adorable, idyllic little towns, we don't have that many in New York State. New England has more of that. Now, for ski resort areas, yeah, we have that. So 6 to 1, half dozen the other. And also we have, of course, New York City. Rochester, fun fact, often stands in for New York City when you're filming in America for the Hallmark Channel.
Of course it does.
For street level views. You get you a couple of establishing shots of the city, and then Rochester stands in a lot because it's city enough. And then quite often then either Toronto or Vancouver will be street level New York. Toronto is the clean New York City, and Vancouver is the clean Toronto. And that's how that works.
Okay. Well, I think check into Christmas 2019.
Check it out!
Is worth it. It's worth checking out. It's a good Romeo and Juliet adaptation for Christmas, and hey, it's fun. It's doesn't take itself too seriously, which
not at all
we've
actually
already established that that's an important key to doing a good adaptation a lot of the time, and it's especially a loose adaptation, and this delivers. I mean, it works. I think it's a good.
And it's silly. It's silly, and they build false stakes in only ways that the Hallmark Channel can do. Oh my God! It's like, oh, what's gonna happen? And it's just like, we know what's gonna happen. There's a formula.
Yeah, I mean, of course.
Hallmark,
Romeo and Juliet are both gonna die. Oh wait, no, they don't in this.
No, because it's Hallmark.
No, happy ending, of course. This is what Shakespeare should have done, of course, with this.
Oh my God! Seriously, if he were writing now, he'd be writing sitcoms and Hallmark movies. I mean, that's what he would be doing. It's what I'm doing.
Except they'd be very intellectual.
Would they?
There'd be some witty comments. There'd be some.
Oh yeah, totally. They'd be witty. Yeah.
Yes.
Overly intellectual though? No.
There'd be catchphrases galore.
Galore. I mean, it's gonna be grand. Oh, so Andrew, so we have those out, but now I want to ask you, what is your or are your favorite Christmas movie or movies? And it doesn't actually have to be a Christmas movie. It just be one that you love watching at this time of the year. And also, if you say Die Hard because you think you're clever, I will come through the internet and hurt you.
Gremlins, all the way. No, I'm kidding.
Okay,
let's see.
I accept Gremlins.
No, my family, we always had a tradition. I mean, we have very few Christmas traditions, but one of the traditions we did have was when we were young, my sister and I, we would watch a different version of A Christmas Carol every year. My mom would go out of her way to find a new VHS tape of a different version of A Christmas Carol to put in there so we could watch. And it was, there are so many versions. We were covered for a good decade there where it was not a problem. After that, it got a little challenging to try to find a new one. But we still managed. And our favorite, I think both hers and mine to this day, is the musical version of A Christmas Carol from 1970, a British production called Scrooge. And it is 1970. Check it out. Alec Guinness plays Jacob Marley. And it is just, even if you take away the music from it, which is phenomenal, it's great music. Even if you take it away, it's still a great version of A Christmas Carol. So even if you're not crazy about musicals, I think you'd still like this film. If you hate musicals, okay, don't see it. But if it's just not normally your jam, I think you'd still like this because it's still a good movie on its own. One of the problems I think a lot of musicals have is the story tries to carry the music. That's not the way this is. The music helps the story. I mean, the story works.
That's what should happen in a musical.
It should be, and it often doesn't, especially with movie musicals. And this one is not like that at all. So I highly recommend it. It's fun, and you will be singing some of the music afterwards. I guarantee you.
I have a question for you. So Alec Guinness is Jacob Marley in this. Alec Guinness, who thought so high and mightily of himself that, oh, I was in Bridge on the River Kwai, that he was too good to do Star Wars sequels. Spoilers, he did sequels. He did willingly a movie musical. Alec Guinness,
Christmas
who
Carol.
acting is so very
A
precious.
Pinewood Studios production of A Christmas Carol. Yeah, he did.
Alec Guinness,
This was
this
the
is me
same
looking at you
year,
with hypocrisy.
1970, that he did my favorite version of Twelfth Night.
Oh, where he was Malvolio.
He was Malvolio. So
And we're going to be watching that too.
Yeah, that was. So yeah. I mean, it was. But he did some silly films. I mean, some real
know.
great comedies back in the '60s and '70s and everything. So yeah, it
To tell George Lucas that you are too much of an actor to do it, it's like, no, shut up, Alec Guinness. By the way, all due respect, you're a fantastic actor. I love you. And you're also dead. But I love you.
But
I'm dead too,
everything I've read
technically.
said he was very supportive of his fellow actors during Star Wars. So I'm going to give him some leeway on that.
Oh, no. Apparently, yeah. Mark Hamill adored him, as did Harrison Ford. Carrie Fisher thought he was great, and he told great stories.
Yes.
It's just being so very precious about his reputation and stuff. It's just like, Alec Guinness, you do silly things.
True, but I mean, he had a great reputation for it too. So I can't say he didn't have a
Yeah.
wonderful reputation. I think
Yeah.
a lot of his beef was. I understand when you've done Bridge on the River Kwai, when you've been in movies like Lawrence of Arabia and all of these, the Man in the Gray Flannel Suit. I mean, all of these great, bizarre, different, cool films, and everybody always just says, "Oh my God, Obi-Wan Kenobi from Star Wars." I mean, I
Yeah.
can see where that would be a little tough on you when you're a traditional British actor. So, I get
And
it
you've
a
done
little
so much.
yeah,
so.
I mean, to be known for that, but you know, to look on the other side of that, how many great artists are not known for what they would want to be known for? I mean, Tchaikovsky, of course, being the Christmas season, is a great example of this, because the Nutcracker Suite, he hated that thing, despised it. He was forced to write it. He did it. How do we say? For the money. I mean, he did not want. I mean, this is the thing he would want least to be known for, and everybody remembers him for that. So I mean, you are not the best judge of your epitaph. You never will.
No.
You do not write it. You can try, and some people are lucky, but it's probably not going to happen.
So, in that case, what both Alec Guinness and Tchaikovsky have in common, other than having done it for the money sometimes, which, by the way, that's not selling out, that's called making a living. What they have in common in this case is they both brought their A game to it. Tchaikovsky's Nutcracker Suite is phenomenal. And Alec Guinness as Obi-Wan Kenobi is terrific. He brings
true.
humor, he brings pathos. He's very, very good in it.
He was
So,
an inspired casting choice. I can't imagine anybody else doing the role justice, honestly, at this point.
and if you're wondering, what does this have to do with Christmas and everything? Well, remember, he was in Scrooge as Marley, but also the Star Wars Christmas special. Of course, that's a thing.
Tell me you saw the
Although
Lego,
Disney
the new
pretends
one.
it didn't happen.
Tell me you saw the new Lego Christmas special. Tell me.
No, I
holiday.
did not.
Oh,
No, I
it is hilarious. You should watch it. It's
All
actually
right.
really good. I will give them some credit. I mean, it's not phenomenal, but it was a lot better than I was expecting.
Okay. All right.
I definitely recommend it.
All right. And that's to be watched on Disney Plus?
Yes.
All right. Very good.
It was a very, very cute. It was kind of like, how can you make that worthwhile? And they achieved it.
All
They did
right.
it the right
I'm
way.
looking forward to it then.
They did it the
I
right way.
will take your advice. Now, so you like the 1970 musical version of Scrooge with Alec
Yes.
Guinness as
And-
Marley?
And I'll throw out a couple of others real quick that I think are good, that I think people don't normally think of as Christmas movies that they should watch, like a Bob Hope film from 1951, The Lemon Drop Kid, about a con man who figures out a scheme to use Santa Clauses asking for donations on street corners to get money, and then he suddenly discovers the true meaning of Christmas, kind of thing, and gets a heart and a love interest in the whole shebang. But it's a Bob Hope film, so it's zany, it's silly, it has all the standard stuff you'd expect, and it's a fun film and it's very Christmassy. but I don't know, for some reason that slipped through the cracks. People don't think of it. Another one I might throw in is The Shop Around the Corner from 1940.
Oh, very
Because,
nice.
yeah,
Jimmy Stewart and Katharine Hepburn.
Oh no, not Katharine Hepburn. Maureen Sullivan.
Oh, sorry, I beg your pardon.
Yeah, and it was the movie that You've Got Mail was a remake of.
Yes.
And but this didn't involve email. It involved letters. Actually pen pals kind of thing, and that whole thing. But they worked together in a shop and hated each other's guts beforehand. So it was similar. But it is a cute film. It takes place chiefly over the Christmas time period, and it's a cute film. It's not a phenomenal film, which I think is perfect film for a remake. It was a cute, good film and a great remake, and You've Got Mail. So either, actually, You've Got Mail or The Shop Around the Corner works wonderfully for that. In fact, watching them back to back is a real treat, because there are some of the scenes that are almost exactly the same in about almost 60 years difference. It's crazy. It is really crazy to watch that. So I kind of recommend watching them back to back. Shop Around the Corner, then You've Got Mail, since you've probably already seen that. So yeah, those are the two films I'd recommend. What about you? What is your favorite Christmas film?
My favorite Christmas film was actually my favorite film of all time.
Oh, really?
And that, yes. It's a Wonderful Life.
Oh, wonderful. No pun intended.
No. Or was it? It is, it's the story of George Bailey and him making a difference in his small town of Bedford Falls, New York, and what things would be if he were not around. And the beautiful thing is, the final act of the movie is the Twilight Zone.
Mm-hmm.
Before there's a Twilight Zone. 15 years before Rod Serling makes the Twilight Zone, here's Frank Capra and Jim Stewart making the Twilight Zone. And that final act is a Twilight Zone episode. It's amazing.
Really
It's creepy. It's got almost like theremin style music in there. You have an angel, presumably, interfering in the affairs of man. You have a dark version of what his reality would be. And some people might say, well, is this a dark version, or is this capitalism run amok and all just thriving small businesses, whatever? But the wholesomeness of his town seems to be gone, and it's a dance hall paradise. Although what's wrong with dance halls, I don't really know, actually. But
got trouble, my friends, right here.
I like dancing, so it's fine. But I think It's a Wonderful Life is wonderful, and it shows you the darker parts of the soul of even a really good person, such as George Bailey. You see him at his wit's end. He says incredibly nasty things to his uncle, who he adores, to his wife and his children, who he adores, to his doctor's teacher. And then he's just this sarcastic, acerbic person. He's the worst part of himself made manifest. And then he lets that go and comes back and says, I want to live. And it's just beautiful. And the end of the movie makes me cry nearly every time.
Oh, yeah.
And there's also a wonderful Saturday Night Live spoof of it, starring Phil Hartman and Dana Carvey, from the early 90s, where they show Potter what for. Because if you also remember, spoiler alert, if you've never seen It's a Wonderful Life, Lionel Barrymore's Henry Potter, Harry Potter? What? He basically gets away with stealing $8,000.
Yes.
So, no consequences. But that is my absolute favorite movie, period, and also for Christmas time. My second favorite, certainly my favorite version of A Christmas Carol, is the Muppets Christmas Carol.
It's surprisingly good. Surprisingly good.
It's the only Christmas Carol version I can think of that actually has Charles Dickens in it.
Very true.
And go back and read it. Charles Dickens is very much a character in A Christmas Carol, because it's not he is third person omniscient, but putting everything in first person I.
Yeah.
He's like, there's nothing I can tell you, and it's brilliantly done. He goes off on weird asides that Gonzo the Great, as Charles Dickens, goes off on. He goes off on just random asides, and that brings it all home. It's very much a personal story being told. Michael Caine as Scrooge.
Brilliant choice. Brilliant.
Brilliant. He was one of the first big actors they got for a Muppet movie who treated the Muppets as co-stars, not as props. In previous Muppet movies, for instance, The Muppet Movie, where you have Orson Welles and Steve Martin and Charles Durning, they don't treat the Muppets as characters. They treat them as props. You can see them often looking at the puppeteer as opposed to at the character they're talking to. Michael Caine treated Kermit the Frog as Bob Cratchit.
Yeah.
He treated the Spirit of Christmas Present as the Spirit of Christmas Present. He treated Sam the Eagle as his old headmaster. And that is amazing and brilliant. And it's a formula that has been followed for the intervening nearly 30 years now, that everyone who follows him in Muppet movies, be it Tim Curry in The Muppet Treasure Island, or Jason Segel in The Muppets, or Tina Fey in Muppets Most Wanted, they treat them as characters. They treat them as real, living, breathing figures.
This was a surprising turn
amazing.
for Michael Caine's career, too, because once he was cast as this, I mean, it kind of opened up a new avenue for the way people were casting him. I mean, the roles he took later, I mean, this was sort of like the beginning of all of those later roles. I really, everything from, I mean, all the way to playing Alfred in the Batman films. I mean, it was just, you wouldn't have really thought of him in that type of role, and then this sort of opened that door, I think, a little bit.
Yeah, it's great. It's wonderful. It's full of really good music. Bringing back the original composer from the Muppet movie, and it's just absolutely grand.
This was like the first film after Jim Henson died.
This is the first one after Henson died.
Yeah.
His son Brian directs it. It was the first go-around with a different Kermit, who remained Kermit for another 25 years, until he was fired. Steve Whitmer. But it's really
surprisingly good. I will totally agree with that. This was one of those versions of A Christmas Carol that is on my short list. You know, one thing I've always wanted to do with A Christmas Carol? I've always wanted to go in and look at every single version ever done and re-edit my own version of A Christmas Carol using bits from my favorite one from every single one, because there's so many scenes that are almost the exact same in each one, and just say, no, that's not, this is the best, and put it in, and then just go and kind of be my own Frankenstein with a get my own
I think that'd be amazing. That's a project that would take you a year of doing nothing else.
It would take years, probably, a little here, a little there, and it would just be like the
never-ending project, because then we get a new Christmas Carol. Oh, how does this one fit in? The Jim Carrey one, we don't need to use any of it.
I mean, and then you have to do, where's the cutoff? I mean, do you use the 1913 silent version of A Christmas Carol? Do you throw in the animated Mr. Magoo's Christmas Carol from 1962?
I'm going to say let's not use the Flintstones version. That one's terrible.
Yes.
Let's not use the Jim Carrey version. That one's
not so
terrible
good.
And frightening.
A little bit.
But the Alistair Sim.
Yes,
where he plays with his hair in the mirror, like, whoo!
Yeah, that was
one's
really good. That's still
that's
considered
great.
The best by a lot of people. I think that's
certainly
arguable,
my wife.
But it's certainly one
loves
of
it.
them. It's certainly one of them.
My wife and her sister adore that one. And you named, I think, 3 Christmas favorites, so I must name a third one. We have Christmas Carol, we have It's a Wonderful Life, and it is not Christmas unless we watch the Charlie Brown Christmas.
Oh, yeah. That was so... That changed Christmas. I mean, that was so innovative when it came out. It changed the whole concept of Christmas specials, of what you could do for a Christmas special, what you could do on TV. I mean, So I don't know how much you know about the history of this.
I know it was made incredibly quickly.
Yes.
All of the children were because it was children voicing
Yes.
the characters.
That was
They
never
were all
been done before.
they were all coached on their lines, and you can hear and see the cuts a lot of the times. The animation was very quickly done, and the music really, really makes it. Going back to the other movie we're talking about on this day of recording, Up All Night, the music makes it. It was just a wonderful Vince Guaraldi trio. And then getting the children's choruses in Christmas Time Is Here and Hark the Herald Angels Sing. But then it gives us the iconic Linus and Lucy.
Oh yeah.
The dun 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 dun.
Oh yeah.
Dun,
Classic.
dun,
Classic.
so great. Nearly everything we know about the characters of Linus, of Lucy, of Schroeder, of Sally, of Charlie Brown, all come from this movie.
And I don't know how many people know that Charles Schultz, the creator of Peanuts, didn't just have input; he was the driving force behind this.
He wrote this one.
Yeah, he really did. I mean, this was his baby. He was pushing for this for several years. A friend of his, the producer Mendelssohn, they got together and did this. I mean, it was Schultz's idea to do the jazz. It was that approach to do all of that, and they were huge advocates of this. You know, to do a 30-minute Christmas special, never been done. They didn't
Really?
Yeah, this was original. It was like, oh, you're doing a Christmas special, hour. I mean, that was just the rule at the time. You know, using children's voices. No, use adults and you voice. They voice children. No, we're using children. Never been done. I mean, all of these weird innovations. Jazz music for that had never been done either. That was crazy at the time. It was the whole reading of a line from the Bible. Where Linus at the end, that was scaring producers left and right at the time. They were nervous.
I bet.
That had never been done. That was just a big taboo no-no at that time. And they did it, and the audiences loved it. And it changed the whole scope. If you look at what was before it and what was after it, I mean, you look at Mr. Magoo, I mentioned that earlier, a Christmas special, that was an hour. You get to everything after the Charlie Brown Christmas, 30 minutes. And that was they were the innovation. Rankin and Bass wouldn't have happened. You know, all of the Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer and Santa Claus is Coming to Town.
Yeah.
That would not be around if it wasn't for a Charlie Brown Christmas. If it was, it wouldn't have been the same.
The Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer feels overly long. I think every single year I watch it, I'm like, this feels too long.
And you know, you can make that case, but it's just the whole concept of Christmas specials was made popular by Charlie Brown Christmas. Everything owes at least some nod to that. So
Sure.
you know, so I totally applaud. That is an excellent choice because it is.
So
such a
you're
wonderful
saying-
thing.
So you're saying that everything before would be BC, before Charlie Brown? So BCB?
Yep.
BC, before Charlie Brown Christmas. All right.
That's it. That's it.
BCBC, yes.
It is crazy. But no. I mean, of course, and they hurried into production other Charlie Brown specials after that.
Oh,
because it's
Christmas
like, oh my
Time
God.
Again is crap.
They were so shocked on how it worked out. It's crazy. So yeah, I will agree with that. I'm going to throw in one more just because.
Oh, all right.
I'm going to do the surprise bonus movie in there. I'm going to say the original Miracle on 34th Street.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
It mainly because the concept at the time was so novel, so different, so fascinating, so innocent, so humorous, so whimsical. And Fred Gwynne as Santa Claus, just wonderful.
Chris Kringle.
Yeah,
Everything about that movie is great. Natalie Wood is
oh yeah,
amazing. Maureen O'Hara doing an American accent,
Yeah.
which this is one of the few films she does one.
yeah, and she does. a good
She
job.
is usually using her native Irish.
Well, I mean, it really takes an Irish or a British person to be able to do a really good American accent. Let's just be honest.
Honestly, genuinely,
It really does.
Let's be fair. Your American accent is crap.
It really is. It really is. It's way too. There's too much of a slight lisp, and I'm working on it. We'll get there. We'll get there.
We'll get there.
I need a
We'll
British
get you there.
dialect coach. A British dialect coach, and maybe I
You
can get
really do. You really need one. But everything about it, Miracle on 34th Street, the original one, is spectacular. The mother is divorced,
Yeah,
and
that was crazy.
they don't make a big deal out of it.
Yeah.
In fact, no deal about it is made other than, oh, she's single. And that gets Fred Haney interested. Because he's been interested. He's like, oh, she is available. Oh, excellent. Susie, let's conspire. By the way, also allowing your kid to hang out with the neighbor across the street or across the building. Some people are like, do we do that? That's so very New York, honest to God. It's just like, oh, I'm at work, but you're home. Can you watch my kid? I mean, that I've lived in New York. That's New York. I mean, I was asked to watch children who I did not know, and then you become friends with them
I
because
just
it's like,
assumed
all
it was
right.
a 40s thing that just happened all the time. Back
No, but this is also the first, to my memory, the first version of any Christmas movie showing Christmas the way we know it now in America and the UK.
That's true.
Of it's a very modern Christmas. Of you have it starts with the freaking Macy's parade.
And that was a real parade. They had Edmund Gwynn, who played Kris Kringle, be Santa Claus for the Macy's parade and filmed.
No, it saves costs.
They didn't know the audience didn't know who it was. They just said, "Oh, Santa, hey," and they did it and they announced it afterwards. But it was just, I mean, brilliant. That's how you do it. I mean, you just filmed a real parade, and they had multiple cameras everywhere. I mean, it's a logistical nightmare, but they pulled it off, and it looks great.
And everything about it, from him being Santa at Macy's department store to talking to the little Dutch girl in Dutch,
I know,
and singing "Pinta Santa Claus," to blowing bubble gum and getting it stuck in his
that was
beard.
hilarious.
Just some of a lot of the one-liners, like, wait, I can't let this go until I know the answer. How does Santa Claus sleep? Beard under or on or above the covers? Outside the covers. It makes the beard grow.
Yes.
I mean, it's like, it's so silly. The judge dealing with his grandchildren, giving him just short shrift because he is judging the sanity of Santa Claus. I mean, everything about this movie is great.
Yeah.
Bringing politics into it, including, I mean, the political advisor, I consulted with the highest authority available. But that plays as true now. It's just like, would we do that? Yeah, we would. The U.S. Postal, by the way, you want to save the U.S. Postal Service? Watch Miracle on 34th Street. Oh my goodness gracious. They saved the day.
They did. And you think about times back then, you can almost imagine somebody on the letter line just kind of saying, "Oh, hey, would you like to get rid of those letters?" You can almost imagine it actually have happened. It's the weird little.
Wouldn't it be
like
nice?
to
send all these letters over to him.
Sort of like a New York kind of attitude of, "I'm going to do this because what the hell."
But because we're the federal government, we're not going to get in trouble for it.
Right? What are they going to do? Sue us? Yeah, it's great.
Yeah. Oh my God. And then also, what's my boss at the Postal Service going to do? Fire me? I delivered the letters to Santa Claus. It's like, okay.
I also love that they have Macy's and Gimbals, and they brought them both in there, and they had to secure, they had to show them the film, and then they had to get their okay post filming to be able to show it. It was really risky, but it paid off, and you'd never do a movie like that now, ever.
But to also personify Macy's and Gimbals with Mr. Macy and Mr. Gimbal.
Oh, right.
Like, that's ridiculous. I love it.
They weren't alive, but it was still, it was so well. I think that's how they got away with it because they did put a good spin on both of them. I mean, they made them both look, you know, interested in money, but also have a good heart in the end. So it worked for them. It was good PR.
Yeah, oh, and then also, and they were both so very New York. Mr. Macy being the very aristocratic mid-Atlantic New York style, and then Mr. Gimble being very, I'm from Long Island. How are you? I mean, I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
I mean, there's nothing not to love about that movie. And then Susan's sarcasm at the end when she's in the car. She goes, I believe, it may be silly, but I believe. Oh, I love it. That's a great movie. We've talked more about that movie than any of the others.
I know.
Great.
It's a classic, and I just always think that it's usually shown, so I'm sure everybody watching has seen it, but I just want to throw it in there because, especially for what we do at Ren Fairs and everything, it's such a good fantasy film in a way. I mean,
Yeah.
it's done and it's done in a straight way. I mean, they take it seriously in this odd way, but it is a fantasy film, and I love that. I love that
Yeah.
of magic.
Wonderful. One other final one, since you threw that one in.
Okay,
real quick.
it's fair, it's fair. Go.
The newest version of The Grinch.
Oh, okay.
Computer animated, with Benedict Cumberbatch as the voice of the Grinch.
Totally.
So good. It's so good.
Excellent.
It's. I am not a fan of the Jim Carrey version.
Me neither.
I mean,
appreciate
and I
what they
know
were
many
trying
people.
to do, but I don't think they
Yeah.
succeeded.
And and there are scenes, there are moments I like from the
Yes.
Jim Carrey version.
Yes.
Do not get me wrong.
Yes. That's fine.
I actually quite adore him singing "You're a Mean One, Mr. Grinch" in that, what was that, 2000 movie? So 20 years old now. I liked that. I don't like the movie as a whole. This, I like the movie as a whole. I think it is really well done. I think nearly every moment is adorable and precious and funny, and so many of the jokes, as with most, if not all, good animated films of the last 25 years, just like in the Warner Brothers era, are aimed at grown-ups, and if kids get them, good. But it's jokes for it's jokes for the whole family. It's not just for aiming it at 5-year-olds. It's for everyone. So this one, it's so very good. It's so good.
So a good recent film to check out for everyone.
Yeah, have you seen it?
Yeah, I have. Yes.
Oh yeah, and
I
that
need
one's
watch it
available to
again,
watch
though.
on
I've only
Netflix.
seen it once, which for a
Oh
Christmas
my
film
gosh,
is
do yourself a
unheard of for me.
favor.
Yeah.
Yeah, do yourself a favor and watch that
When
one.
you mentioned it,
And
I'd
also,
forgotten. I realized. Oh my god, yeah, I only seen that once.
and also following the theme of it's not great, but watch it anyway. 8 Crazy Nights, the Adam Sandler animated
wow.
Hanukkah film. Yeah,
Wow,
not
okay.
great, but it's silly and worth it. If you like Adam Sandler, watch it.
I think it was one of those things where the timing and how it was promoted were bad. It didn't
Yeah.
come out at the right time and it wasn't promoted
No.
well. But if you watch it now, because I remember watching it then and being like, eh. But now I watched it again recently and I was kind of like, yeah, okay. Yeah, this isn't bad actually.
No,
So, I agree.
I
That's a
think
good
that's
point.
one that's gonna. I think that's one that's gonna gain popularity as we
think you're
move
right.
away
I
from
think
the
you're right.
release. Yeah, and it's fun. It's not high art, but it's
No.
fun art. That one is fun,
Definitely.
and it's not great, but it's fun, and I love it.
Well, I guess this has been another episode of Christmas with Shakespeare. Oh, this has been fun. I love hanging out and talking Christmas because it is a great time of year, and I always have good warm fuzzy feelings when we get to hang out and talk movies. But this is just that extra bonus of warm fuzzy. So, hat notwithstanding.
Absolutely. and if you're wondering what does any of this have to do with Shakespeare, very little, honestly. It's just, but
But when you're talking about the
thing,
English language, everything has to do at least a little with Shakespeare.
yeah. But friends, thank you so very much for spending this very weird year with us, and we do hope that you have a very happy, safe, and healthy holiday season. However you celebrate, or even if you don't celebrate, we want you to stay safe and find the greatest happiness you can. Watch Die Hard if you have to. I mean, if that's your Christmas movie,
Yeah.
let it bring you joy. Gremlins, let it bring you joy. And we are just so happy to have been a part of your day and also of your year this year. So, Andrew, any final thoughts from you?
Well, just have a wonderful, wonderful holiday time, and in whatever capacity you can, because I know traveling and visiting family is not going to be as big this year, and that's okay, because stay safe, and happiness is where you find it. So find it where you can.
That is beautifully, beautifully put. Friends, if you've enjoyed watching our holiday spectacular half as much as we have enjoyed making it for you, then we have enjoyed it twice as much as you did. And that's called math. That being the case, whatever you feel the show is worth, a 1, a 5, a 10, for 50, Andrew and I will come and sing masked carols in front of your home in a menacing manner, snapping our fingers like this. It's going to be the sharks and the jets of Christmas carols. Throw it into our hat. And by hat, I mean throw some coins into our coffee account, coffee.com/lifesaffair. And also, you can go to patreon.com/lifesaffair and become a Patreon of the arts and support us over there. Get some fun extra content that we're coming up with in the new year. It's going to be a great time. Follow us on all the social media, Facebook, Instagram, etc. Go smash that like button on YouTube. And you can follow me, your friendly neighborhood Shakespeare, at facebook.com/Shakespeare Approves, youtube.com/Shakespeare Approves, Instagram, Shakespeare.approves, Twitter @Shakes Approves. Eventually, I'm going to get around to the TikTok. Not today, but probably for 2021. And if you want to throw any coin my way, you can go to patreon.com/Shakespeare. Andrew McKee, the Irish Bard, creator of this show. How can people find and support you?
Well, they can find me on facebook.com/The Irish Bard, my website, theirishbard.com, my Patreon page, patreon.com/Irish Bard, and some of my music on theirishbard.bandcamp.com.
Oh, wonderful. So, friends, until next year, unless you're watching this in the new year, and then until next time, next week, tomorrow, today, I don't know when you're watching this. But until the next time we see you, we will hear you exclaim as we drive out of sight, goodbye 2020, and to all a good night.